All right, so it's a pleasant afternoon, and then we want to quickly apologize for today, the little technical itch. But thankfully, we're back up, and we're going to be talking about something really very interesting, right? Something I know every one of us will want to listen to. There's a reverse psychology, right? I'm a veterinarian, a proud veterinarian, as you will know. And then all through my 6, 7 years in school, I was taught that we're expected to care for animals because they are helpless, they are lifeless, or they really can't do what humans can do. So we are taught to be passionate, to be considerate, and then to listen to animals. But today, something different is happening. We're going to be learning that animals are a lot more powerful. They are not just animals. Some of those animals are doctors, some of them are pharmacists. Well, I will not want to let out the cat out of the bag, but we have somebody incredible in their house today that will be sharing with us some insight as it regards this. He is Dr. Sunday Agbonika, and then I usually tell people around me there are only two veterinary schools in Nigeria, right? There's Ahmadu Bello University, and then there are others. Proud to say that he finished from Ahmadu Bello University, and we all finished from Ahmadu Bello University. But he's going to be giving us an insight into this animal assisted therapy or intervention, which is perhaps a strange thing in our parlance. How did we come about that? What is that in itself? And then how did they move out of the line every one of us is used to something different? People, I'd like you to welcome to the, I want to say to the podium, Dr. Sunday Agbonika. Good afternoon. We
Good
had
afternoon,
we
Doc.
had
Thank you
quite a
so much for
handful of
having me.
technical hitches today, but glad that we're finally having you. So tell us, what is it about this animal intervention or animal assisted intervention or assisted therapy, and then give us a background. What are all these? How did you come about this? And then is it possible really for animals to heal humans? Go ahead, doctor.
Okay, thank you very, very much. So, like you've rightly said, I'm Dr. Sunday Agbonika. I am a veterinary surgeon, graduated from Ahmadu Bello University. I am. I also now do have a CHAIS credentials. CHAI from Oakland University in the US. CHAIS stands for Certificate as a Human Animal Intervention Specialist. I'm equally a Mandela Washington Fellow, which means that in 2019, the US government invested in me by taking me and 699 other Africans, young Africans who were doing remarkable things in their own rights to the US and gave us trainings and also connected us to people in their country that will help to increase the impact of their work. This has been one of the major pivotal parts of our work today that has brought us to where we now are. I would briefly just give a definition first before going into the background. So, animal assisted interventions is one of the two major professional parts of the human animal bond. And there are the major definitions that are out there and all, but let me probably just give a very simplified definition. This is my own definition in lay terms. And animal assisted interventions just means being able to bring animals into the healing mix of humans. So animals helping to heal humans, autism, and a whole lot of others, and a whole lot of others. So animal assisted interventions just involves one animal being trained to be able to work with various segments of people, while the other major part of the human animal bond, assistance animals, is one that entails having one particular animal trained to work with one particular person for the animal's working life. So now to just give a background as to how I came into all of this. In 2004, my brother, who was actually a nephew that grew, sorry, actually a cousin that grew with us and everything. He had a son that was born to him in 2004. The boy's name was Joshua, and then so as he kept growing and everything, we discovered that a lot of the things you would expect a child his age to do, he was not doing them as at when was expected. A typical example was the fact that at the age of 2, 3, thereabouts, he still couldn't say words as coherent as mommy, daddy, and the likes. And so we went through a lot as a family that period, and we sought for answers, but we really didn't get any strong answers at the time. At that time, doctors and all around, especially in the city where we were, did not have any answer to give us. But then we heard all the unconventional and everything from various segments of people around us. Years down the line, with a lot of love and with a lot of patience and everything, when Joshua grew to be about 5, 6 years, he could now start saying a few words, and a few words, mommy, daddy, and a few others. And then as he now grew from that point, he now was able to do better also with a few other words, and he was now adding 1 or 2 words to his vocabulary as he grew. So eventually, anyway, he died. He passed on in 2013. He was 9 years old by then, which was so painful for us as a family. He was still an only child even up till the time he died. And then 2 years later, 2 years after that, I came across the video on the internet of Nathan Selov, an American who, who was born with a similar condition, because as he also grew, his parents also now discovered that there was something amiss. But then they now, especially when he was in his school, and while his parents now sought for some form of therapy and all, they now came up with various options. And one of those options was something they now sought to be animal assisted interventions. By the way, his name is Nathan Selov, and he was diagnosed with autism, but a high functioning type of autism, which from everything in Nathan's story, I now believed to be the same thing that my nephew may have had at the time. Because my nephew was equally born looking pretty much normal, those changes and all those things that we did see. One of which also was the fact that in public, crowded places, he didn't really do well in those places as well. And so coming back to Nathan's story now. So Nathan's parents now sought for interventions or therapy that could work for him, and then decided upon upon an assistance, or upon getting him a service dog, which was one of the options they came up with. And if you see the video, Nathan was now paired. They took him to this center in the US, there in his state where he was, and then they tried to find the dog that they would pair him with, and then they found Sylvia, and Sylvia was the perfect match for Nathan. They connected almost immediately, and so Sylvia was trained to now work with Nathan. And then from that point onwards, Nathan now documented his life having Sylvia in it, and now showed the fact that most of the children, for one of the major changes that now began from there, was the fact that children in his school that were picking on him, that were bullying him and all of that, especially as he began to decline in his social thing, were now part of the children that would now love to play with to be friends with Nathan, just to be able to get the opportunity to play with the dog, with Nathan's dog, with Sylvia. And so that now helped him to start to build better social relationships. He now started to do a lot better in school, started to do a lot better at home, and then now got to the point of even joining a club in his school. I think it was a forensic. I can't remember the specific name of the club now, but then he now joined the club, and then they discovered that he was doing exceptionally well in that club, to the point that he got his.
So I guess we lost him, but he will be back. Okay, all right. So he's coming back.
So we just look at it. Hey, there is no way everything will reach everybody. So
all right, Doc, we lost you a little, but welcome back.
That's it. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much. So I was sharing about Nathan. So Nathan, from the point where Nathan now got the dog, he documented in that video how he now did a lot better in his social interactions and everything. His grades in school got a lot better as well. He now joined the club in school. He did really well in that club, and then later on even got scholarship to the university based on how well he did in that club. Nathan today is now married to a neurotypical. He's married now to Jess. Jess is a neurotypical, which means she does not have autism or any special needs condition at all. And Nathan is doing exceptionally well. He's someone I've also been able to connect with, and we have a conference coming up in August that Nathan is going to be a part of. So basically, this is how I got into the whole human-animal bond or the whole animal-assisted therapy thing, especially by getting to see Nathan's video. Okay, so from the point also that I saw that video, I saw it and I felt, oh wow, this is really fantastic.
Take this one and add to your work. This one you relay it. You know how to do relay.
This is something that would be really good if it's been practiced in our country, Nigeria. And it's been then. Unfortunately, I didn't know at the time that I would be the person who would help to bring it to Nigeria. So I discovered later on that we had a club that we were also going to meet children with our dogs and all. And then a mentor now told me that this thing that you're doing is really good, but why don't you do this, especially with children who have autism and other such needs? And then that was the point when I now felt like, oh wow, that thing that Nathan was doing back then that I saw in the video, this now is, so I now have to bring this, or I have to be a part of how this comes to Nigeria and all. And so that has been the journey of how we came to where we are. And in 2018, we decided to even just try this out, like do a trial to see if this is even of potential for us in this country. And one of the first things we started doing was going to special needs centers to try to talk to them, to get them on board, to see how we can work together, and then to even be able to try this out. And two particular special needs centers opened their doors to us when we met them. Some others, a lot of the other special needs centers in Abuja where we are, let me not say turned us down, but did not exactly understand what we're even saying, to the point of even engaging with us. But then two that stood out for us, the Zamwa Institute and Dewdrops Community Center for Special Needs Children, the two of them heard everything that we talked about and they fell in love with it and decided, okay, well, let's try this out. And so we conducted a trial in one of those centers, the first trial we ever did then in Dewdrops Center for Special Needs Children. And what we found out was, beyond the fact that this was this was really helpful for many of the children that attended that trial, we discovered from what the teachers told us that this was of breakthrough potential for two particular boys. Breakthrough potential for those two boys, because at these centers, how they get to teach these children is by finding what the children are excited by or love, and they're now using that as a model to get to, or as for a form of intervention to teach the children all the other things that they want to teach the children. Now, for these two boys, they had not found anything at all that was a motivating factor for these two boys before we came with the dogs. So we now came with the dogs, and the teachers and therapists at that center now discovered that these two boys were so excited to see the dogs that they were literally begging to do anything the teachers wanted to do at that point. They would do almost immediately, just because they wanted the opportunity to be able to get to interact with the dogs. So now this breakthrough potential that these teachers discovered for these two boys was reported back to the parents. At home by the so they now had dogs in their home, which was really, really of help for them. So this is how the background of how we got into everything we're doing right now.
All right, so Doc, this is I must confess, right? You know, while you were talking, what really got to my mind was the fact that sometimes our understanding of something could be upside down, right? in Africa, we still think, unfortunately, some of us still think, up until was it last 2 weeks or so, somebody saw a black cat and still attached witchcrafty, witch that the cat was a witchcraft, right? So we still mystify animals. We misunderstand animals, and then because of this misunderstanding, we can hardly get the best out of them. Sadly, you gave us a story when you were starting up that you lost one of your cousin because we didn't really understand what could heal the cousin, and then you talked about another story of somebody whose attachment to a dog has made him get out of the stage he was. Right. So we abuse what we don't understand. Right. And you have chosen a
True,
path that
true.
is slightly very different. When I was sharing the advert for this, one of the things that really caught my attention is the reverse psychology, right? Instead of veterinarians trying to cater for animals, there's now a possibility that dogs or cats or animals generally can intervene in critical issues in animal health, in human health, that we cannot envisage, right? So maybe first of all, talk around what the situation is in Nigeria, and why do you think what you have being novel will be difficult for us to apply, right? Because the mindset, you don't want to see some the way people treat animals. You really don't want to see, right?
Okay.
So not just even talking about that, to now say that we need to move from treating animals the way we treat animals to us accepting that animals can also be of help in medical conditions that we cannot really handle on our own. So I want you to talk to balance that view, our view as Africans, and what the space of animal assisted therapy or interventions could be in the future. Go ahead, Doc.
Okay, thank you so much for that question. So in answering this, let me first divert a little bit to talk about something before coming back to answer directly. So first off, especially when answering questions like this, one of the things I love to talk about is the state of Nigeria when it comes to what in the Western world is known as responsible pet ownership or guardianship, which is one of the things that is a building block to the success of this in our country as well. So in talking about that, one of the fundamental or one of the foundational things that makes for a responsible pet guardian, which is one of the main places where we get it wrong in Nigeria, is even first of all selecting the right pet that fits your home or your lifestyle. It's not every pet would fit for every home. The particular breed that is even within the same species. Let's take dogs for example. The particular breed that would work for my own home may not be the same breed that would be the best or that would fit for your own home because of the intrinsic nature and character of each of these breeds. So one of the major things that we also in our work and in everything we've been doing, one of the major things we also try to talk about is this concept of of responsible pet guardianship. And in saying this, I like to sometimes use an analogy when talking about this to people. And the analogy is this: if in the olden days when we had mostly, in fact, when we only had manual gear transmission vehicles, most for most vehicles, if you want to put the car on reverse, you will take the gear all the way to the right and then you press it backwards. And then if you engage the car, it now goes on reverse. But there were a few model cars, I think mostly the Mercedes. Mercedes was, I think, one of those that if you actually wanted to put it on reverse, you would take it instead of taking it all the way to the right, you switch it take the gear all the way to the left, you press it down, and then you take it forward, and then it goes on reverse. So I love asking people when talking about this and all of that, that if if, for example, you were given or you bought or you have a Mercedes at the time, and then you took it, you wanted to engage it to reverse, and you took the gear all the way to the right and backwards, and then the car went forwards when you were expecting that the car would go backwards. I love to ask people, is it the fault of the car, or it's the fault of you who has the car but did not study the car to know how well this particular car that you got functions? So bringing it back to what I'm talking about now, it's it's as good as saying that every breed of dog, every breed, in fact, even for animals, various breeds work in different ways. So being able to know how a particular breed works, being able to know the temperament of a particular breed, and then being able to now match that with your own home and your own home situation is something that is one of the places we miss it as Nigerians. And that's one of the reasons why we hear so many negative stories of how dog beats this child, how dog beats this, how dog, all those crazy stories on social media that become viral, and then people listen to them and it reinforces their fear of animals and everything. I would say at this point that over 90% of those cases are stem from irresponsible dog ownership, which is the fact that the people, one, may not have made a conscious choice in choosing the right pets that may have fit their home, and then two, may not have also known how that particular breed works perfectly to be able to work with the breed with ways that suits more for the temperament of that breed. So bringing this back now to the question that you asked, it's as good as saying that well, in the on the African continent, yes, there are some myth that was in times past, but beyond the myth are also now these negative vibes and stories that go out there about animals. So one of the ways which we can get animals, and which we are working on as well, one of the ways which we can get animal asset interventions to grow on the continent, to grow in Nigeria and everything, is by letting people know that there is a concept known as responsible pet guardianship. And as many more people become more responsible in their animal ownership or guardianship, then we will have better results. We will have less of those negative stories. And we will now be able to have many of these animals being able to really help us in the ways that they can help humanity, that can help humans and all of that. And this whole animal asset interventions thing that we're doing can grow a lot wider in its impact as well. So that's much of that. And then we also have been doing a conference to also help to spread the news and awareness of these things, especially of animal asset interventions. And as that grows, it's also something that we're seeing that is being able to get more people interested in this whole work, and we're also interested in treating animals better, because animal behavior is, or an animal being in good condition is also or an animal even being in good mental condition is also of high importance to the success of this work as well.
That's nice. Dr. Sunday, I'm going to.
Sorry, I can't hear you, Doc.
All right, so can you hear me now? I said I'm
Yes, I
bringing
can
up a
hear you.
picture of you and the
Okay.
current vice president of Nigeria. Well, seeing the picture, I'm tempted to say when I grow up, I want to be like you, right? Uh, this was so. The vice president seems very interested in what you're doing. Can you tell us exactly what you are discussing with the vice president, so that I can cram whatever you have said, and I'm able to tell the vice president myself. Please go ahead. You have an image with you and the vice president.
Okay. Yes, thank you very much. So first of all, how that came to be was the fact that I'm also a yearly RLC West Africa fellow, and during that fellowship, I kept talking a lot about animal assisted interventions, a lot about how animals can help humans, and also many people who were on the fellowship with me as well associated me with the whole dog. I was called the dog therapy person. And so one of those people that knew me and this work saw something somewhere where an organization in Abuja here that was to host the vice president on the very next day, which was on April 4th, 2018, incidentally, a day after my birthday. So when the person saw the adverts that was put up for people who had exceptional ideas to apply, because the organization wanted to be able to showcase to the vice president people who had exceptional ideas, or basically exceptional ideas. So I was, so people, it was put out there, and then the lady told me, "Oh wow, this thing that you've been talking about, why don't you pitch it to these guys?" And then I pitched it to them, and I really wasn't even feeling like it would be selected and all. But I was surprised when a few hours later I got a message that said, from an email from them, that talked about coming the next day to speak with the vice president, or to pitch my idea to the vice president at that event. And the very interesting thing for me, and the humbling thing for me from that event, was the fact that we were placed in different rooms. Each person with an idea was placed in different rooms. The vice president walks up to you and then shakes your hand, and then you are now being given the time to be able to pitch whatever it is that you're working on that you feel is exceptional to the vice president. It was so surreal for me to have that opportunity, because this was not just standing in a crowd of people speaking to the vice president, but this was speaking one-on-one to the vice president. It was almost like you were the most important person in that room, because you are the one.
All right, so Doc, I want to ask you this specifically,
So
right?
you see the
These dog breeds, that means you need to train them, right? Am I correct? You need to train them before they can be used for the project.
Yes.
So, where did you get the training
everybody know where I did.
that makes you,
Everybody know where I did.
that gives you the
But
ability to
just
train
all
them?
of a sudden,
I'm sure we were not taught in school, were we?
Definitely not.
So where did you get this training?
Okay, fantastic question. So, amongst other things, I'm also a dog trainer right now. I've trained a number of dogs for people and all of that. And like you rightly asked, how did I get the knowledge of dog training? Well, I had to personally develop myself. In some other countries, like in the US, there are people training centers that train people to make them dog trainers. But in Nigeria, I stand to be corrected, but at this moment, I don't know of any such training center in Nigeria that trains people to be able to work with, to be able to train dogs. So for me, I've had to develop myself personally in two ways. One, I had to watch videos from some of the best trainers in the world. I had to download tons and tons of videos from them. So I'm talking of trainers like Christine Crestejo, the late Dr. Sophia Yin. She was a veterinarian and also a dog trainer as well, and an exceptional trainer. So the late Dr. Sophia Yin, from Zach George, from Victoria Stilwell, and a whole lot of others. I downloaded and had a lot of their videos that I kept watching and watching and watching over and over again to learn. And then beyond that, I also bought books. And in fact, going as far as my 500 level when I was interning in Vet World, doing my student IT in Vet World back then. Somehow, some way, I never knew that I would end up where I am right now, but I was so fascinated by animal behavior and dog training that even right from then, I saw these two dog training. There were lots of books in Vet World that caught our fancy, but there were these two books on dog training that I saw and I fell in love with. And right from when I was a student back then in school, I got those books. I photocopied those books back to back, right from when I was a student then. So years later, when all of this were beginning to now come up, those books were part of the resources I also ran into as well. And then there was also a book that someone helped me to get from the US, a fantastic book. It's called Training the Best Dog Ever. And the book is by Don Sylvia, Stacey Weeks, and Larry Kay. And it's a very good resource that we have and that we're using and everything. So I've had to develop myself in all of this based on personal books, videos, and everything that I've had to read.
Some of us now want to learn what you have learned. How many dollars are we going to? How many dollars are we going to pay now? Because it looks like with all what you have learned and the video you have caught them, you're going to be charging us in dollars.
Definitely.
You said definitely. Dollar is expensive now. Very expensive. All right, Doc. What do you think is the future of these animal assisted interventions in Nigeria? What do you think from all you have learned?
Okay, so from everything that I've come to know, I would say that the future for it in Nigeria, in fact, not just Nigeria, but in Africa, is so promising. I say so because I would first of all talk about the conference which we began last year. So we began a conference last year to share about all of this, a general conference which was aimed at getting the information about this to people on a large scale. And so we had the conference in August last year. We had people from over, we had people from various countries joining on the conference. And one of the striking things we discovered from that conference was the fact that we had people joining from other African countries, Ghana, South Africa, Somalia, Mauritius, and a whole lot of others. And we did discover that some of the people that joined in was talking about how this was a fantastic idea as well, and something that was not also present in their country. So we're seeing interest growing day by day in the country from this. We're seeing interest also grow in Africa from this conference as well. Sorry, from other parts of the continent as well. So we do believe that this is something that in years to come, in a few years to come, will become the norm, or will be more adopted as a form of therapy for people, but helping this using this form of therapy to help special needs children. So, but we do believe that this is something that is really of great potential in Nigeria as well.
All right. So on a slightly more lighter note, right? I see a future where the veterinarian will be charging the pet, and then the pet will be charging humans, right? So we lost him a bit. I think he made mention that his battery was low. But again, I want to, on behalf of Dr. Sunday, invite everybody to participate in this pathway to studying animal behavior. I think this is a huge part of what we do, and as veterinarians, our ability to understand human behavior and to specifically use it in a way that enhances most of the things we do. I want to advise that, especially for young vets watching, that there are quite a lot of innovations in the veterinary practice. Starting up, opening up clinics, and then starting a pet store is a common way that we know. But there are fields that are coming up, and there are gaps in the veterinary profession that I think a lot of us can make use of. And it's going to be my own advice that, just like Dr. Sunday Agbonika has really emphasized, he didn't get to meet with the vice president as a vet. He got to meet with the vice president because of the idea he has. And the moment we keep thinking about this out of the box idea, keep executing them, I think the better it will be for us professionals. And I know somebody said the cloud is too wide for every one of us to succeed. And these are the key things that really helps us to succeed as a profession: innovation. So I want to thank every one of us for watching. We all know in Nigeria, lights are really not very stable. And then we had a few delay here and there before Dr. Sunday could come up. But again, be sure that at the end of this, I'm going to be sharing the rebroadcast, and then of course sharing the link to joining the seminar he was talking about. I'm going to bring it up the screen again. Pathway to Studying Animal Behavior with Dr. Carlo, and then Dr. Sunday, and of course Emily. It's something I want every one of us to enroll. I will be sharing after this broadcast the link on our comment button. I want to thank every one of us for watching, and then we apologize for the tiny small technical issues here and there, and we promise to make it better subsequently. Do have a lovely afternoon. If you've not subscribed to our YouTube channel, I think it would be a perfect time to do that. And then if you like the out of the box idea that Dr. Sunday has shared, it would be a good time to give him a thumb up. Have a wonderful afternoon. Good day.